Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox, broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. I'm so excited about Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Can't thank you enough for joining us this morning, and you'll be glad that you joined us this morning. We have a star-studded lineup. First, this morning, right around 6:30, we're going to be talking with Muriel Anderson. She is a world-renowned guitarist, harp guitarist, has played with everyone. Chet Atkins, she played with Les Paul, she played with the late, great Dwayne Eddy, Corning native and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. The list goes on and on. Well, she's going to be in Corning on Sunday for a concert at 2 p.m., and it's a benefit for flood relief, and that's at Marriage Music right here on Market Street. So we're going to hear from her in the 6:30 hour. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from Senator George Borrello and Bobby Ann Cox Esquire. They were the speakers last night at the public forum on Proposition 1. And we're going to find out from them as much as we possibly can about Prop 1, because I know there are a lot of questions. So I really appreciate them sneaking into their schedule after a big night last night. An opportunity to come here on Frankly Speaking, and I do appreciate that very much. So that's coming up later on as well. So as you can tell, it's going to be a busy morning. Let's get right to it. Comments from viewers after yesterday's program. First off, a great quote from Ronald Reagan. Government's first duty is to protect the people, not run their lives. Thank you for that comment. Very good. Another one from early this morning. Thanks for getting up with us to be prepared for the 6 o'clock hour of Frankly Speaking. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. I'm actually curious about a segment that I may have missed, being that I might have overslept a little bit. That's one of the beauties of being retired. Well, good for you. And what this boils down to is they had mentioned that they saw Mayorkas mentioning and commenting that there was not the FEMA money because it had went to relief, essentially, for illegal immigration, for the stress because of the open, porous borders. And now they're trying to claim that President Trump is using false information about it. So you see Mayorkas say it, and then because Republicans, and specifically Trump and Vance and others, are highlighting that, hey, whoa, we drained the coffers, and that's why we can't help, even to the point where Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, storming out of the room saying it was misinformation when they were using FEMA numbers in their question. It was a Fox News reporter asking about that specific question that this viewer's asking, and she declared it misinformation and stormed out. So yes, they're trying. It's typical. We've seen it for years now, especially since Trump came out of the picture, that it is false information reporting on FEMA's own numbers and what Mayorkas said. So you raise a good point. You did not miss it. And also, to your point, of course, we need that money for the flood victims, which we all must pray for their help. The people there must be in a terrible state about that. But I don't understand how the White House could say that when Mayorkas stood right in the public on television, and spoke about the FEMA funds running low, why they would say that's a misstatement, why that would be some type of knock or misinformation on Trump. But no, you did not miss anything. That's exactly what the time frame has been. That's exactly what has been happening. That Mayorkas can say it. They can say that FEMA funds are low because of the cost of the influx of illegal migrants. But when it is highlighted later by Trump or Republicans, it is now misinformation. That's unfortunately the way the game is being played. We do have some breaking news this morning that we're going to get to. Also, I don't know, boy, if you're watching, I hope you didn't stay out for Stephen Colbert. Harris was on Stephen Colbert on The View. Doesn't seem like, I think she was on The View yesterday. There's also some real serious questions about the 60-minute interview that we're going to get to as well. But first off, this coming in late last night, former President Trump will host a major rally at the iconic Madison Square Garden later this month. This being reported on, I believe, for the first time by the New York Post. The event, which will be held at Madison Square Garden's legendary arena, is set to take place on October the 27th, just 9 days before Election Day. And technically 1 day after early voting begins in New York. A massive turnout is expected for the rally, which will be a first-come, first-serve event, like most, as far as I'm aware, most of his rallies are. You go, if you've never been to a rally, you sign up for a ticket, you get a ticket. That does not guarantee admission. As many of you may have learned who didn't get there 3 or 4 hours in advance. Now, back just last month, if you recall, Trump drew 16,000 people to Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. The former president's Bronx rally over the summer brought up to 10,000 people, even though the permit allowance was only for 3,500 people. Now, Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, has the capacity to seat as many as 19,500 inside the main arena. Now, the venue is no stranger to political events, just so you're aware, even holding the Republican National Convention there in 2004. This had been a rumor for quite some time that he was going to try to have a rally at Madison Square Garden. But nothing really came from it. We never heard more about it until late last night. This is going to be interesting. Now, I don't know, and I'll ask this question for you. I don't know if he's trying to, again, make a play for New York. You've heard my kind of opinion on that. But there are some major House seats that this could really help, because the majority could go through New York. And there's a piece, I believe it was maybe on Empire Report today, about New York playing an oversized role again in the majority in the House. So it could definitely help in that sense. But an interesting move, and I'd like to know your thoughts, an interesting move just a few days short of Election Day, coming to New York for a big rally. I will say, New York, the media capital of the world, so it has that aspect to it, where it is perhaps a way for Trump to get coverage, or his rallies to get coverage, which the mainstream media has essentially stopped covering for quite some time. So it could be that newsworthy aspect to it, why he would be in New York 9 days before the general election. But very exciting news, something I thought worth commenting on, and that's why I did, because it was breaking news as of late last night. We have some other breaking news stories. I have a couple of New York issues as well that I hope that we can get to this morning, but I know we're going to have a busy morning. And did anyone watching catch any of the Harris quote-unquote media blitz that was so viewer so astutely put yesterday? How is Howard Stern, how is The View, Stephen Colbert considered media blitzes, or podcasts, media blitzes? But put that aside, did you happen to catch any of them? I know that Howard Stern was, as predicted here, just kind of fawning. Though I would say, if I were to have a presidential candidate on, my endorsement wouldn't be trying to be clever by saying, I'm going to vote for you, but I'd also vote for that wall, meaning that I just am essentially voting not Trump. That Trump's the problem. Now, you're not necessarily good, maybe a little better than that wall, but I'm voting for either of you if it's up against Trump. So we'll talk about that as well. We're just getting started here. Keep those comments coming in. Keep the questions coming in. Again, for those that have questions about Proposition 1, which we've talked about quite extensively on this program, but still very Albany, Washington language, a lot of questions regarding it. And if you missed the forum last night, if you did not miss the forum, I'd also love to hear what you have to say about that. How did the forum go? I was unable to attend, but I really enjoyed talking about it yesterday. And I know that a lot of people were excited to go to it, and thanking the organizers, Sheena Rossetti specifically, for putting it together, because, again, so many questions on Proposition 1. But we got to take our first break. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horsets. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken, broadcasting live, as you know, from the Hesselson studio, live and proudly broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. Well, look at the timing on this. Speaking of breaking news, Hezbollah has said on Tuesday, after essentially being decimated with serious blows, is now ready for a ceasefire talk. The terror group in Lebanon made the announcement after firing more than 100 rockets at the Jewish state hours earlier. Hezbollah's deputy secretary general publicly endorsed a truce with Israel, the first such time the terror group has proposed a ceasefire not conditioned on the war in Gaza. I'm not going to read the exact quotes. I think just worth mentioning, if you look at the timing and obviously the news that we have been bringing you on this program of a decimated and seriously injured Hezbollah, their leaders taken out, so many, leadership and their ranks taken out in recent months. Now, a ceasefire doesn't sound quite as bad. Also, in a breaking news story, an Afghan man has been arrested and charged for allegedly plotting to conduct an ISIS-related, quote, election day terrorist attack, according to the Department of Justice. The DOJ announced in a press release yesterday that Nazir Ahmad Tawadi, 27 years old, who had been residing in Oklahoma, had, quote, conspired and attempted to provide material support to ISIS and obtain firearms and ammunitions to conduct a violent attack in the United States. Tawadi was charged with conspiring and attempting to provide material support to ISIS and with receiving a firearm to be used to commit a felony or a federal crime of terrorism, according to the press release. If convicted, he faces a maximum prison sentence of 20 years for the first charge and a maximum prison sentence of 15 years for the second. So 35 years. Okay. Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a statement, as charged, the Justice Department foiled the defendant's plot to acquire semi-automatic weapons and commit a violent act in the name of ISIS on U.S. soil on Election Day. We will continue to combat the ongoing threat that ISIS and its supporters pose to America's national security, and we will identify, investigate, and prosecute the individuals who seek to terrorize the American people. The press release noted that Tawadi had allegedly taken steps to liquidate his family's assets and to resettle his family overseas, as well as obtain firearms such as AK-47 assault rifles and ammunition. So there you are. The press release from the DOJ announcing charges against Tawadi for plotting an ISIS-related terrorist attack to occur on Election Day comes after outlets such as CNN have argued against claims from former President Trump and J.D. Vance and Ron Johnson that Afghanistan refugees fleeing their country in the aftermath of the Taliban's takeover were not being properly vetted. All right. So there's an update and a somewhat breaking news story. Another, and there's no real segues between any of these other than to say they are major news stories. This one at the state level. Do I want to get to this or do we want to wait? No. What do you think, first of all, if you happen to catch any of Harris's interviews, Howard Stern, The View, Stephen Colbert? I know the big news this morning, and it's so predictable because there had to be something a little wacky, right, at the Stephen Colbert interview. So they shared a beer. And boy, Variety has a big headline about it, cracking a beer together. It's the vibe elections. Did you stay up and watch it? Also yesterday and making the media rounds this morning is the new Bob Woodward book that is claiming Trump spoke to Putin some, 6 or 7 times since no longer being president, that he had given Putin COVID testing when it was still very rare here in the United States, the equipment to do COVID testing. To me, when it's just interesting because remember when the Hunter laptop story was censored by the media, by social media, because they called it Russian misinformation, Russian disinformation. Could the same argument be made that this has the potential for being Russian disinformation, depending on who the anonymous sources are used in the book and who the sources are in general used in the book? Not to suggest censoring in any way, just that term is thrown around so often that doesn't it pique your interest when there's a story regarding Putin and Trump and I guess COVID tests and things that could have a major impact. I guess you could call this an October surprise, but that could have a major impact. But nobody, not only are they not questioning it, I saw John Carl this morning ask Trump questions about it, where Trump, of course, denied it. And John Carl had to come back on and make sure that it was stated that, well, Trump had said he had a good relationship with Putin. And, just basically suggesting that, and then that Woodward is one of the most legendary authors of all time and respected journalist, et cetera, et cetera. So just interesting to see the coverage, both with a potential election impact, how one was treated, one through censorship, one through now the promotion. Because if you look at some of the other, and I know Harris brought it up a lot on I think it was a Howard Stern interview, bringing it up, and Walls as well, talking about Trump's conversations with Putin and how, to me, it's just very interesting that how much they want it to fit that narrative. That I guess the follow-up question would be okay, so if you believe that, Kamala Harris, as the gospel truth, do you also believe in the pretty horrible things in that book that was said about Biden? Raging over Hunter Biden and the DOJ, blaming Obama for Russia invasion of Ukraine, other bombshells like that. So is it all the gospel truth according to Bob Woodward, or are you, and I think that's a fair follow-up question. Not that Howard Stern would ask a follow-up question like that, but Is it all the truth, or is it just a cherry-picked truth that you want? We learned that let me take a break. I do have to take a break, yes. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. We'll talk more about the Woodward book, though. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I do want to get into the interviews with Harris, and I also have a couple things here. What do you think about, and we'll talk about in depth because you may not have heard this yet, Tim Walz calling for the end of the Electoral College, which could signal some concerns about to Democrats, where this election is headed. Does Tim Walz believe that? Because maybe their internal polling showing a scenario where they win the popular vote, not the Electoral College. This was a call for quite some years by Democrats, but according to the few news outlets, the mainstream media news outlets I saw reporting on this, it was more of he kind of went against Harris's beliefs on this. So is it just one of those, knucklehead Tim Walz, not thinking before he speaks, or is this what they'll call for? And is this also a scenario where they're suggesting that they may not accept the results of the election? Because I think that's the way the media would spin it if Trump were to say something like that, do they think that they're going to lose the Electoral College but win the popular vote? Are they going to call foul? Because that's what Hillary Clinton did, basically moving the goalposts and saying, well, she won because she won the popular vote and the Electoral College is bad, et cetera, et cetera. So this isn't a new charge. It's just new from Walz, at least recently as far as I know, and one that perhaps maybe the Harris campaign a little flat-footed on, not expecting him to say it. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, taunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Beautiful view. A little eerie at this time in the morning. Very fall-like. Welcome back. We are broadcasting live, of course, from the Hesselson studio. I wanted to mention just quickly tomorrow on the program, because I have quite a few guests this morning. Tomorrow on the program, our friends from San Giovanni Valderno. Now, they are visiting, of course, as the Sister Cities Committee. So you have students and teachers from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy, coming here to visit, and they're going to be in the studio and just tell us about their trip thus far and what they think. But that also leads me to mention, I don't have it ready to put up on the screen, so grab your calendar. Tomorrow is the fundraiser for the Sister City Committee. It's a pasta dinner tomorrow at Corning High School cafeteria. Dinner is from 4:30 till 7:30 p.m. It's pasta, meatballs, salad, roll, and dessert. Eat in or take out. Just $15, and all proceeds benefit the Corning San Giovanni Valderno Sister City Committee. So look forward to talking with them. Coming up after the next break, we're going to be talking with Mariel Anderson. I think you're really going to enjoy that interview, finding out about her legendary career. She will be at Marriage Music on Sunday at 2 p.m. Okay, here is a rather blunt assessment from a viewer. Good morning. Well, that's not the blunt assessment, but good morning. I would rather watch paint dry than to watch anything Harris. Well, that's interesting, because you would rather watch paint dry, and Howard Stern said he is going to vote for Harris, but would also vote for that wall. So it's kind of a similar statement, if you ask me. So the Bob Woodward book, making the rounds in the media, we learned, and again, I think the question that I ask is, if this about Trump talking with Putin, I think it was 6 times. I shouldn't keep saying think. I know, but I think it was 6 times. I know it's in my article here somewhere, talking after his presidency, and about COVID tests, giving Putin COVID tests, and Putin basically saying, you better not let anybody find out because it won't hurt me, but it'll hurt you. Seems to really fit a media narrative anyway. The book also reveals how then-President Donald Trump sent Putin a shipment of COVID-19 testing equipment for his personal use during the height of the pandemic, with Putin telling Trump, please don't tell anyone you sent me these. When Trump replied he didn't care, Putin told him, I don't want you to tell anybody because people get mad at you, not me. They don't care about me. According to Trump's aide, there have been multiple phone calls between Trump and Putin, maybe as many as 7. Okay, it was 7 in the period since Trump left the White House in 2021. Although Trump aide Jason Miller, an important aide in Trump's administration, denies this in the book. So they're presenting that as the gospel truth according to Bob Woodward. So I would say, if that's the gospel truth, does Biden rage over the DOJ and their handling of Hunter? Does he blame Obama for the Russia invasion of Ukraine? And there was others in here, and at some point I don't know if they're worth all mentioning, because you're going to hear a lot about it in the coming days. Oh, saying horrible things about Benjamin Netanyahu, saying he's a bad guy, and using cuss words that we understand Biden is pretty consistent in using in his private life about Benjamin Netanyahu. So again, I'm not going to get into it, but is it all the gospel truth according to Bob Woodward, or is it just the ones that negatively affect Donald Trump? And again, it's reported as fact, but would this be reported as fact if it was Biden that was making these phone calls with Putin, or had been giving him COVID tests or something to that extent? Or would they call it Russian disinformation? I'm just trying to figure out the standards with which the media hold themselves sometime. Now, I did mention Tim Walz said yesterday that the Electoral College, quote, needs to go as Democrats fear the 2016 repeat. I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go, Walz said at a campaign fundraiser. We need a popular vote. That is something, but that's not the world we live in. Walz has long been vocal in his belief. Okay, so there you go. That answers that question. He has long called for the elimination of the Electoral College. At an earlier fundraiser event, Walz called himself a national popular vote guy and added, "But that's not the world we live in," according to the New York Times. Walz and his running mate Harris have been focusing on a handful of battleground states that will likely decide who becomes the next president under the Electoral College system. Democrats have grown concerned that Harris could win the popular vote, but not enough electoral votes to win the election. Twice in recent history, the candidate whom most Americans voted for lost the election, and both times they were Democrats. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by almost 3 million votes, but lost the White House to Donald Trump as she failed to get the necessary 270 electoral votes. And in 2000, Al Gore earned about 500,000 more votes than George W. Bush, but Bush was elected president by winning more electoral college votes. And there's another, when Hillary was complaining about it too, after the election, it was an example of you campaign one way. I think it was Trump who said that you campaign one way. And now who knows if this is accurate, but he said if I would have tried to campaign for the popular vote, I would have won that way. Now who knows? That's something that you could never actually know, but that you do run a campaign very differently. If there is no electoral college, the presidential candidates will essentially be in New York City, Los Angeles, the major cities, campaigning there as compared to hitting the rural states and finding out what is affecting people in the quote-unquote flyover states in places like Pennsylvania and elsewhere. The vice president's campaign attempted to distance itself from Walz's statement, so Harris caught a little flat-footed on this, saying Governor Walz believes that every vote matters in the Electoral College, and he is honored to be traveling the country in battleground states working to earn support for the Harris-Walz ticket. He was commenting to a crowd of strong supporters about how the campaign is built to win 270 electoral votes, and he was thanking them for their support that is helping fund those efforts. So having to kind of walk back what he said, also putting words in his mouth and really feelings in his head, if you will. But back in 2019, Harris did say she was open to the discussion, which is kind of the answer she gives when she doesn't want to give an answer as a rule. And many politicians, not just her, but open to that discussion, open to having that conversation. Now, we have to take a short break because I'm really excited about this. Muriel Anderson is going to be our guest here in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
So you're going about 60. Is that about right? Okay. And the airbags deployed?
As head of the state's largest motor vehicle accident firm, William Matar is always seeking to gain new insight from car crash experts to keep him at the top of his game.
And the neck is still sore?
Who ordered the Exo-Breezy? You single?
The bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie-cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with a no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox, broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. I'm so excited about this interview. Muriel, thanks so much for being on the program this morning.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you for coming back to Corning. I see the last time you were here was like 2011, I think it was.
Yes, we've been trying to find a time to go back. We just really enjoyed Corning.
And this one's for a very special cause because obviously our area, like so many areas, getting hit with floods. And right now this is going specifically for flood relief. So tell us what brings you to Corning.
Well, I was asked to play at the Albion Library for their concert series.
Okay.
And then the Marriage Music contacted me and said, "We've been wanting to have you back, and we see you're nearby. Is there any way you could extend your trip a day?" And I said, "Sure." And so it's nice? It was their idea to make it a benefit then, and I think that's great. I'm going to be doing a second benefit down in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
In a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And so I think that it's a time that we all need to pitch in a little bit with whatever we have, whether it be a harp guitar or something else.
Yes. Marriage Music is this Sunday at 2 o'clock. For more information, call 607-936-6044. So let's get back into your history in music. And we can talk about your impressive recognitions, and we'll talk about that. But did you always know you wanted to be in music?
I always knew that I wanted to do something in the arts. And ever since I was a little kid, and that it would affect a large number of people in a positive way.
Yeah.
And so it was my mission to figure out what that was and then to do it. And I thought that everyone had that you try to figure out what your mission is and then you do it. And so it was really surprising to me when I would ask people, so, what do you think your mission in life is? And they didn't know. and so, and at one point I was in, I think 6th or 7th grade, and I had a dream that I was carrying my guitar to school, and my guitar got heavier and heavier until finally I put it down and rode it to school.
Okay.
Lifted it off the ground
Yeah.
and rode it like a little spaceship. And so I woke up from that dream, and I thought, I think my guitar is going to carry me through my life.
Oh, wow, that's an amazing dream, and a good age to have it. So you get ahead of the curve on that one, I would think, for most people. Did you come from a very musical family?
Yes, my mother played the piano, and we all just played and sang for fun.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was part of being a human being, play
Sure.
music of some sort.
Yeah. And why specifically the harp guitar in this instance? I mean, that for a lot of people watching is probably not something they typically see.
Well, yeah, I play a regular guitar,
Sure.
I have for many years,
Yeah.
and I started writing tunes that were calling for these extra resonating bass strings.
Yeah.
And I was reaching for notes that weren't on my guitar, and so I saw a picture of one.
Sure.
I figured, okay, I've got to get one.
Oh, well, it's beautiful. Is it heavy?
Oh, not
Not too bad.
heavy. It's my brother.
Okay. Who was it in your early life? Not just your family, of course, but when you look at your influences, because you have such a unique sound, who were the people that you were listening to when you were growing up and learning music?
Well, I was a big Doc Watson fan. I loved bluegrass and fingerstyle, and then when I was taking, and also Pat Metheny, just loved that really innovative jazz, and then I was taking mandolin lessons from Jethro Burns out of Evanston, Illinois. And Jethro said, "You got to meet my brother-in-law, Chet Atkins."
Wow.
So it was just then.
Yes, I do have to meet your brother-in-law, Chet Atkins.
After meeting him, then he became a huge influence.
Yeah.
And really affected my music in a lot of ways.
And I wanted to ask that because obviously doing some research, your relationship with Chet Atkins, what was the man Chet Atkins like?
Oh, really, it was kind of just like meeting my uncle when I met him. He was so unassuming and kind, and really didn't differentiate between his friends, whether they be ex-presidents or the guy who sold T-shirts out of the back of his truck.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
And was always complimenting other musicians, the new players, young players who came to town, and mentoring them. So I wasn't the only one. There were a lot of people coming in and out of his office that he was showing, here, try this.
Really? Do you think that's why he has such a legendary status, almost mythical, because he did help so many future stars?
I think there are many, many reasons. He was very innovative and a perfectionist in what he did as far as his music. And he produced a lot of artists. He supported, it was his idea to put country and western together and call it country and western.
Yeah.
For one.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's legendary status right there, right?
Yeah, so, and the neat thing is that in Nashville, they knew that he made that town.
Yeah.
You know, that it was it was his really vision of making country music more universal.
Yeah.
And so, and they honored him for that. And so he was walking this line between, reusing his tea bags, growing up in the Depression, and knowing that he was recognized in his time for the legendary man who he was.
Do you think he could ever have imagined what, if you look like Nashville now and what country and western has become and just the growth of it and the popularity, do you think he could have ever imagined that?
In a way, I think he did.
Yeah.
He did imagine it, and he had to put it together. But he didn't really like the way where it was going.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that. Not every artist sounded different. That's what he was looking at. That he didn't like quite as much emphasis on the electric instruments, the rock aspect of it, and the homogenation of it. So I think that his vision was that each artist, like Dolly Parton, is so different from Waylon Jennings.
Sure, of course.
He really liked that the individuality of each player, and he also promoted individuality in us. He didn't expect me to play just like him. He nurtured my songwriting, and the way I played it was unique.
We also talk about a mutual friend and maybe two of the nicest people I've ever met, and that's Dwayne and Deed Eddy. And of course, we just lost Dwayne a few months back now. It seems like forever, but what two amazing people. I know you had the honor, I'm sure, if I can use that word. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the honor of playing with Dwayne.
Oh, yes. I've been producing this big show called All-Star Guitar Night. We've cut back in recent years.
Yeah.
But at one point, I had rented the Ryman Auditorium several times.
Wow.
And one of the shows was to honor Dwayne.
Yeah.
So he played and his friends played. And I also did a show honoring Les Paul, and Les came and played.
Wow.
We did a show to honor Chet.
Yeah.
There was a time of the really big show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we filled the Ryman every time.
Wow.
So, and in fact, in the 30-some years I was doing All-Star Guitar Night, we always had a full house.
Yeah. Well, with names like that, how could you not?
So yeah, and there weren't always big names, and we introduced new up-and-coming players, but just really great players all the time.
Well, I've got to say, just because we are in Corning here, and Dwayne Eddy was born in Corning, so that's that's why. And he came and visited not that long ago, so he holds a near and dear place to my heart. Do you have any favorite memories of Dwayne?
Oh yes, my housemate Jonita, fiddle player, was very close friends with Dwayne and Deed, as well as with Chet, and we. There was so many times. Well, one thing is when Dwayne came and played on my Wildcat album.
Yeah.
So there was a tune that I'd written called Wildcat, and I thought, well, it would be neat to have a little boing, boing, boing.
Of course, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, that's Dwayne.
There's
right
only
there.
one person, right?
That's right. So he came in and played that, and the song just transformed. You know?
That such that a unique sound that the second you hear it, you know it's Dwayne Eddy, right? Isn't it? There's got to be something neat about that as a guitar player and someone, especially in the beginning pioneer days of rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I have to ask now because you piqued my interest. What's it like playing the Ryman Auditorium?
It was really one of my very favorite places to play. There's so much history there, great acoustics, and something you can't really express. There's a feeling there. There's just a joy, a happiness when you're playing on that stage.
Is there something intimidating about it, or no? I'm just curious because I will never play the Ryman, so I'm just wondering if there is any intimidation factor.
I didn't really feel that so much.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the same kind of thing. When you feel support, you don't feel intimidation.
Sure.
I remember one time I was in France, and I was at a festival, and I didn't know, when I go on. All of a sudden they said, "Muriel, you're on now.
Yeah.
You're kicking off the show, the dinner show." And I get up on stage, and right in front of me is Chet Atkins sitting there.
Wow.
And I played, and I could feel the support from him. So I wasn't nervous. I was just feeling his energy and his support at that time.
Isn't that amazing? And also, since you mentioned it, what was it like playing with Les Paul?
It was Les had a great and unique sense of humor.
Okay, all right. Should we leave it at that, or?
No, it was really fun. I played many times at his show at the Iridium.
Yeah.
Because I had done an interview like I'm doing here, but live on WGN in Chicago.
Yeah, of course.
And they said, "There's a caller on line 1. It's Les Paul." And
Okay.
So he said, "Yeah, I like your playing, and come sit in and play with me if you're ever in New York."
Wow.
And so after that, I did many times at the Iridium, and he would. He'd invite me up and always tell a joke and get me laughing. And and then once you've loosened up and laughing, then life is better.
Of course. When you play with so many legends throughout your career, does it almost become old hat, or are you ever thinking, well, this could be difficult sitting in and playing with a Chet Atkins, Les Paul, Dwayne Eddy?
It's never old hat. The neat thing is that life is different every day.
Yeah.
And I try to take some of those lessons from Chet, that you treasure the small moments as well as the big moments.
Sure.
And and it's not that much different. I was playing at a big guitar event at the Palais du Sport in France.
Okay.
Paris. And so there were, I think, 6,000 people in the audience, something like that.
Wow.
And I kicked off the show with an improvised flamenco piece.
Yeah.
And so there's this like huge applause.
Yeah.
It's really unique. And there are many stars on the show, obviously, there. And then the next day, or 2 days later, I went to England and played for the Guitar Club, and there were 12 people in the audience.
Okay.
And it didn't seem unusual,
Yeah.
And so then I played for those 12 people the same way.
Yeah.
6,000.
Now, would you rather, I think I know the answer to this, but would you rather perform live in a scenario like that, or do you like to record?
Oh, both. They're different vibes.
Yeah.
And I think that I'd like to go back to really composing more, because that's another thing that's very rewarding in a way, to compose a tune and then record it.
Yeah.
And it's sharing a part of you and hoping that it'll affect somebody else in that same way. And so that's it's a gentle energy there.
Yeah.
And very rewarding in that way. And performing live is a more exciting energy.
Sure.
And you're making people happy at the moment.
Yes. When you compose, I've asked this question of other people, and it seems to be a wide array of answers. When you compose and you put it out on an album, recent CD, Nightlight, Daylight, is it almost, are you nervous to release that song that must mean so much to you that you spent time on and it can be personal?
Sometimes, even an instrumental piece.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Feel personal. That
yeah.
I remember at one point I had written this song about the love for a friend.
Yeah.
A platonic love, and I felt like it was revealing a little bit too much about me.
Oh, interesting.
To play that, and I didn't play it live for a long time because I thought it was just a little bit too personal.
Yeah, I can see that.
I finally got over that.
We're talking this Sunday, Marriage Music. Don't miss it. It's 2 p.m. So you mentioned All-Star Guitar Night. Are you still involved with your organization, Music for Life Alliance?
Well, the All-Star Guitar Night has, in the past, been the primary funder of Music for Life Alliance.
Okay.
And so now I still do my annual concert, my Saturday after Thanksgiving concert, which also funds it, and a few other shows do. So we've scaled back in what we were doing, but it was just an effort to get more kids to play music.
Yeah.
So, and I had started out designing a program that would teach music and after-school programs, primarily, and then found out that there were programs scattered all around the country doing this very thing. I thought, well, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to unify them and support their efforts. And so what we do is give small grants to organizations that are getting instruments and lessons to kids, because it really is so important, spiritually as well as for their education. It helps to integrate the right and left hemispheres of the brain and keeps kids involved in all other subjects as well.
Now, when you're composing or performing, and it's something you spent your whole life doing, it's got to feel good when you get the recognition. You know, for instance, winner of the National Fingerstyle Guitar Championship, Guitar Player Magazine, top 50 guitarists of all time. You're probably not doing it for that, but it's got to feel kind of nice, right?
Well, to a certain extent, it's nice to get the recognition that I was looking for a long time ago.
Yeah, sure.
And now I feel like I'm not really looking for it anymore. So it's one of those things that just as soon as you don't really need anything, that's when it comes along.
Yeah. Of course. Well, isn't that interesting how it works? Before we go, because I'm almost out of time here on Zoom, again, the concert is at Marriage Music. It's a benefit for flood relief. It's this Sunday at 2 p.m. You've played with so many legends. Is there anybody you wish you could have played with?
I still would love to play with the Paul Winter Consort. Paul Winter, a great jazz saxophone player.
Okay.
And he made music with whales and Canadian mountain wolves, and integrated nature and music together in such a beautiful and unique way. I would love to someday play with him.
Well, thanks so much for doing this. I can't wait to see you on Sunday.
Yes, looking forward to seeing you then.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
When kids don't have access to essential health care, it can negatively impact their physical and emotional health.
Ready or not, here I come!
That's why Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield is working to make quality care more accessible with specialized programs and plans for the needs of all families. So every child, every hide-and seeker, everybody benefits.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Thank you again to Muriel Anderson for being on the program this morning. And we received a comment, which is a perfect way to segue into a couple of photos I have. Chet Atkins was an excellent guitarist, and your interview with Muriel was as well. Oh, well, that's nice. She is also, like Chet, innovative and can play her harp guitar flawlessly. I very much liked her down-to-earth demeanor. Me too. And here's a couple pictures of her with Chet Atkins. Isn't that neat? So there you go. There's your photos as well. All right. We've got a lot to cover. I know I'm running a little bit late in this hour, so let's wrap up with a few comments that viewers had. And then we'll get to the next hour. And right around 7:30, we're going to be talking with Senator George Borrello and Bobby Ann Cox, who were the speakers last night at the forum. Did you happen to attend the forum, which was in regards to the New York State constitutional amendment that will be on the ballot in November, well, October 26th or whenever you started to vote. So again, they were the speakers last night, and that was in regards to Proposition 1. So we'll talk to them about that, try to learn a little bit more about Prop 1. And again, I'd love to hear from you if you did attend the forum last night. Also, thank you again to Muriel for being on the program. Do not forget, mark your calendar. It's this Sunday, 2 p.m. The benefit. She'll be playing a benefit for flood relief in our area. She's playing at Marriage Music at 62 East Marcus Street in Corning, right down from the Frankly Speaking studios, a block down. So thank you again for being on the program. All right, some comments from viewers before we wrap up. I just had a thought. If the Republicans win the election, what will we talk about on Frankly Speaking? LOL. Oh, there's always plenty of news to talk about. So thank you. Don't worry. My thoughts, this is a different comment from a different viewer, obviously. My thought regarding the elimination of the electoral colleges, that the winner would be decided by big Democrat-leaning states like New York and California instead of PA and Georgia. Yes, it would be, and that's one of the criticisms of eliminating the electoral college, where the focus of all presidential attention would be on the New York cities and the Los Angeleses, and not the rural states, to find out what is going on in flyover country, essentially, or what's going on in Georgia, what's going on in Pennsylvania. The focus would be on policies that affect major urban areas. Next up, Ken from Horseheads says, I smell another lawfare charge coming up. If Trump is talking policy with a foreign government official, he'll be charged with violating the Logan Act. Interesting. That's in regards to Woodward's book that everybody is talking about in the news today. A lot of revelations coming out about Biden and also about Trump, and it is being suggested in the book from anonymous sources. That the only thing about that, Ken, is that would mean kind of the gold standard, if you will, for journalists leaving journalism school has been Woodward and Bernstein bringing down a sitting Republican president. The problem with that is I think it would require no longer having anonymous sources, and I can't imagine he would want to hurt his legacy, perhaps I'm wrong, by releasing who his sources were. All right, we've got a lot to cover. Hour number 1 in the books. We've got 1 hour left together. Again, Senator George Borrello, Bobby Ann Cox, coming up around 7:30. A lot to cover. Did you watch the interviews? Whether it was Howard Stern, Stephen Colbert, The View, even 60 Minutes. We can go back and talk about 60 Minutes because there's some new information coming out about that we're going to get to in just a moment. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. On tomorrow's program, don't forget our friends from San Giovanni Valderno, sister city, Italy. They'll be here on the program, some of the students that are in the country and some of the teachers as well. There is some concern amongst the Trump campaign that there has been shown 2 different answers from Vice President Harris to the same question during her CBS 60 Minutes interview. Harris, it was footage of her offering a lengthy, what they call a word salad that was aired on CBS on Sunday's Face the Nation to promote the 60 Minutes sit-down. When Bill Whitaker asked why it seemed like Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't listening to the United States. However, the vice president's lengthy answer didn't make the version that aired on Monday night on 60 Minutes, and a shorter, more focused answer to the question, the same question, was shown instead. Now, sometimes interviews are edited to save time, but when CBS aired the interview on Monday night, Harris had a different answer to the exact same question. Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. The second answer was, well, we are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. It is unclear why CBS aired 2 different answers to the same question, not knowing, if nothing else, it would raise controversy. CBS has posted both clips on YouTube. CBS News did not immediately respond to a request for comment, and that seems like an unforced error, a mistake they need not make to raise more concerns of a bias in the media or a protection of perhaps the Harris-Walz campaign. Trump's campaign released a statement saying on Sunday, 60 Minutes teased Kamala's highly anticipated sit-down interview with one of her worst word salads to date, which received significant criticism on social media. During the full interview on Monday evening, the word salad was deceptively edited to lessen Kamala's idiotic response. This is an exact quote from the Trump campaign, and specifically the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt. Why did 60 Minutes choose not to air Kamala's full word salad? And what else did they choose not to air? The American people deserve the full, unedited transcript from Kamala's sit-down interview. We call upon 60 Minutes and CBS to release it. What do they and Kamala have to hide? So again, no comment being listed by CBS as of right now. And a concern of what would be left on the cutting room floor coming from the Trump campaign. Okay, again, no comment from 60 Minutes. So did you see We can talk about any of the interviews. If you happen to watch any of them so far, the response seems to be that you have not. Howard Stern, who used to be kind of focused on comedy, I understand. I know in recent years he's been more known for his interviews, I suppose. But at a time when first starting that shock jock attitude was based around comedy. Now he's not so happy with SNL taking on Kamala Harris. And by taking on, I mean just having an impersonator of her. Howard Stern told Kamala Harris that he hates seeing her being mocked on Saturday Night Live. Now, again, I'm not really sure. I mean, is it really mocking? I mean, it's not done in a malicious fashion. It seems that her name, Maya Rudolph's impersonation is looked more at as a way to make her lighthearted and fun, kind of what they would do with Hillary Clinton, trying to make her more personable, perhaps, more likable. Stern said, "I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of." That's a nice, unbiased interview. Interesting, isn't it? There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now is literally on the line. Brilliant, not at all cliche things coming from Howard Stern in that comment. Now, Kamala said it was funny. I'm a huge fan of Maya Rudolph. So I think she's put a lot of time into doing the piece and the character. If she doesn't want to lose that, because something that maybe Howard Stern kind of in his bubble doesn't realize, that this does benefit Kamala Harris, because again, it's not done in a malicious fashion. It's done in a lighthearted, fun fashion, which could win people over. I do think there's way too much hype on the political power of Saturday Night Live. I know, is it Stephen Collinson? Who is it? CNN writes a piece very often, once a week, on Sunday or Monday, about the Saturday Night Live and its importance from the night before, the 2 nights before. I don't think it quite has that importance, but I think Kamala Harris recognizes that having a lighthearted caricature, one that's not done nefariously, is really a positive. Howard Stern does not seem to think that way, saying, again, I quote, I hate it. I don't want you to be being made fun of. I think that's, again, is he really being made fun of? But also, I don't want you being made fun of. What a weird protective attitude to take. There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now is literally on the line. Harris also addressed the Saturday Night Live skits during an appearance on The View earlier in the day, so very hard-hitting questions and topics for the vice president. Harris saying, Maya Rudolph, I mean, she is good. She has the whole thing, the suit, the jewelry, everything, the mannerisms. Okay. It's good to know, because I know that's what most people want to know, is what her thoughts are on her Saturday Night Live character. I understand you could say that maybe it's worth a throwaway question. Okay. But for Howard Stern to get so angry as something that I would think people would say, at least at the beginning, attempted to be more comedic in nature, now saying he hates it because she shouldn't be picked on. But also, I would say, if you're trying to do the best for your candidate, and your candidate has a fun, lighthearted character made about her on Saturday Night Live, maybe don't focus there. Maybe focus on how you want to word your endorsement of her. Quote, yes, I'm voting for you, but I would also vote for that wall over there, said Howard Stern. Stern's interview with Harris was not full of policy questions or debate. His first question was, do you nap at all? The second question was, did you like the Prince soundtrack for the Batman movie? Is this real? Now, on The View, at least, they asked, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years? And Harris said, there's nothing that comes to mind. And I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact. Now, what's kind of interesting about that is that, because sometimes she's tried to distance herself from Biden, other times she's trying to bring herself more recently closer to Biden. Is there some type of internal polling? Is there something that has her maybe thinking that there is, amongst Democrat voters and maybe even people that are on the fence who haven't seen Biden now for a few months, haven't seen the debate in a few months, maybe now having that nostalgia for Biden. I don't know, because it's interesting how she's quote unquote tethering herself to Biden. I only use that phrase because they were criticizing J.D. Vance for trying to tether Harris to the Biden administration, which it's hard not to tether someone to the administration that you're a part of. Now on Stephen Colbert, let's save that for the next one. I'm jumping through too many interviews. The View must not have made too much news because the main focus this morning seems to be on a little bit on Howard Stern. But again, I can't believe Howard Stern, and his show's gotten very political and he's become very fawning over the Democrat Party, which is fine. But I can't imagine you still don't know enough about politics to not say to your chosen candidate that I will vote for you, but I would also vote for that wall. That is not what you would call a ringing endorsement. That would be something you may cringe having said later, thinking that I should have been more full-throated in my endorsement. If he's upset with a caricature of Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live, why then would you make your endorsement so weak? I don't even know, weak, almost insulting, because what he is saying there is what a lot of people have felt about the campaign and about Harris's campaign, which is that it's not about her as a person, it's about anybody but Trump, right? That it's more about as long as it's not Trump, we'll vote for anybody. And anecdotally, I've talked to people that have said that exact thing, but I don't really necessarily like to do anecdotal anonymous sources. But that seems to be a common trend, that whoever they picked, whoever the elites in the party picked, because remember, it didn't go to a vote, whoever the elites picked, we're fine with them, as long as, of course, it wasn't Donald Trump. And that's why you saw the instant momentum and trying to rewrite the history of a Democrat Party and a media that had been critical of Harris in a political sense of not wanting to see her run, knowing that her 2019 campaign 2019 was disastrous, that it showed that she wasn't ready for quote unquote prime time, not to quote Saturday Night Live quotes there, but that she wasn't ready for, so they didn't want her, and that's, many people said that's why Biden was going to stay in, and that, maybe even, if you recall, this was in the news, maybe even talks behind the scene that he was going to drop Harris for somebody more likable to help him in the general election. Again, the rewriting of history is to get us to all forget that part and not mention that part, and now she's likable and the momentum, etc. So for Howard Stern to take that kind of notion, perhaps not the best endorsement that you could make. We've got some more to talk about with the interviews. We can't run too late because we do have two guests coming in, both Senator George Barillo and Bobby Ann Cox from yesterday's forum. Did you happen to make it to the forum? I would love to know what you had to think about that. Okay, let's take our break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
The bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie-cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Frankly Speaking's Roof Cam. The beautiful roof cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Again, a beautiful view of Market Street. And on Market Street is where we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Thanks for joining us. A couple of comments from viewers, blunt statements made today on the program from viewers. Frank, if I ever had to watch The View, it would mean that I've hit rock bottom or I was abducted by a liberal and forced to watch it, to which I would request a sedative or a very stiff drink. Okay. So I'm guessing you didn't watch the interview. I'll take it as that. Next comment, this is from Ken. Frank, I love the comment from Howard Stern saying that he is voting for Harris, but honestly, he would also vote for a wall if it was running against Trump. If he wanted to prop up her candidacy, he could have said he thinks her policies are best for the country. But he obviously doesn't believe that. He just hates Trump. And to your point, Ken, I think there's something about Howard Stern who does like being liked by politicians. I don't know if this is a thing as he's grown older, getting away from the shock jock interviews, that there's something about he really likes the fawning over a politician, specifically a Democrat politician. So I don't know if you could say he's very well versed on the actual politics of things. What I mean by that is he had the cliche term that I really think this is, and I'm paraphrasing, but I really think this is a very important election. This is the end of America as we know it. The threat to democracy, all of those type of cliche terms. So to him, those talking points are important. He wanted to hit on those, not thinking about making an endorsement that can actually hurt your candidate by saying, I'm going to vote for you, but I would also vote for that wall. That is, could you imagine seeing that on a campaign's flyer? So again, I think it's maybe not being well versed or well educated in maybe the political minutia and what is best and what is probably something you should have thought through, because you've done interviews with rock stars and models and all these people where the questions weren't about policies, right? They were more trying to get kind of secret information out about your guests or get laughs, and that's a lot different than an interview with a politician. So yes, I don't think that was what was best for Kamala Harris's campaign. So Harris, the big news this morning, took a sip of Miller High Life during the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Yes, a whole sip. Took one sip. When you first become the nominee and named Tim Walz as your vice president nominee, people were calling it the vibe election. The vibes were all good, said Stephen Colbert. But election, I think, are won on vibes. Because one of the old saws is they just want somebody they can have a beer with. So would you like to have a beer with me so I can tell people what that's like? Again, we knew Stephen Colbert would be like this, that he would have to have something in there that was funny, that was relatable, something like that, and that the media could run with nonstop. This one seems a little trite. This one seems a little forced, a little cliche, not to keep using that term this morning, but nonetheless, getting the attention this morning that he wanted and that I'm sure Harris wanted. So they had a couple of cans of apparently the vice president's beer of choice. We asked ahead of time because I can't just be giving a drink to the vice president of the United States without asking. You asked for a Miller High Life. I'm just curious. And Harris making it relatable, saying, okay, the last time I had a beer was at a baseball game with Doug, meaning her husband. The champagnes of beer. The champagne of beers. Their slogan, of course, she said. Okay. That, I guess, is a big takeaway from the hard-hitting media blitz, interview blitz from the Harris-Walz campaign. A Variety making a big deal out of it. Kamala Harris cracks open a Miller High Life with Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. And then she did take the opportunity to really go after Trump for this book. Again, and I think the follow-up question here is, if what Woodward's book says, Bob Woodward's book says about Trump, is the gospel truth, is it also the gospel truth what we learn about Biden and the things he said about Benjamin Netanyahu, said about Obama being to blame for the war in Ukraine, these type of things? Are those gospel truth too, or is it a pick and choose, cherry pick what is fact and what is not, what is gospel, what is not? And I guess when she went after the president, Harris said, this is what happens when I drink beer. Okay. Oh, did they ask her? Okay, I thought there was a comment there that she was asked about SNL again. Now, she did dodge a question on Colbert, even though it was not a hard-hitting venue, saying, you are a member of the present administration, but under a Harris administration, what would be the major what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same? She said, sure, well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And that's when the laugh a minute Colbert said, I've noticed. Harris said, so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And that got cheers from what is, historically left-leaning outlet. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people and I believe in our country. I love that this is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. We have aspirations, we have dreams, we have incredible work ethic. I just believe that we can create and build upon the successes we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow opportunity and the way grow the strength of our nation. Harris continued before touting her opportunity economy, pitching, and talking about her small business owner mother. Early in the day of her media blitz, again it's being called, Harris was similarly asked on The View whether she would have done anything differently from the Biden presidency, and she said, there's nothing that comes to mind. I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact. There is some criticism. I had mentioned earlier that the Trump campaign is asking for the full transcript from the 60 Minutes interview. Now, I know that was a few days ago, but the 60 Minutes interview, because there were two different answers shown, one during a promo and one during the actual broadcast, an answer that Harris gave to the same question. So two different answers to the same question, asking for the full transcript. We may talk about that when we come back. Coming up in just a little bit, our guest, Senator George Borrello and Bobby Ann Cox from yesterday's forum on Prop 1. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Enjoy a taste of the Finger Lakes at Hector Hideaway.
With a lunch and dinner menu, we serve a variety of delicious dishes made with locally sourced ingredients. Dine inside or out on the deck for gorgeous lake views and pair your meal with a local wine, beer, or beverage. We're open until 9 p.m. Thursday through Monday, but the bar is open until midnight Fridays and Saturdays. Stay tuned for live music. Visit us today at Hector Hideaway.
In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, our blue logo is going pink. For those who've won their fight against cancer, we salute you. For those still fighting, we support you. And for those who would like to help, go to WilliamMattar.com. At William Mattar, we've helped thousands in our community after a crash with serious injuries. You know us, you know our focus, and you know we can help. Call the firm with the focus, the firm with the fours. 444-4444.
Our water's better tasting, it's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Rated hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audion Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audionhearing.com to get your pair of Audion hearing aids starting at just $100.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Rated hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audion Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audionhearing.com to get your pair of Audion hearing aids starting at just $189.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security. In Horseheads, contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. And in the studio, we're excited. We've been talking about it all morning long. We're going to talk about last night's forum. How did it go?
It went really well. Yeah. It was great. It was a great turnout. The room was packed.
Were you surprised by really the people that attended wanting to know more about this? Because I think there's a huge kind of miscommunication, or people just really don't know about Prop 1. So I didn't know if they would show, and it would be a scenario where they just didn't know what you were going to talk about.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, the room was packed.
Great.
And we had a lot of questions. We had Q&A at the end, and we talked about a myriad of things. But the reality is that Prop 1 sounds nice on the ballot.
Yeah.
Look at my colleagues are always good at making things sound good.
Yes.
But when you dive into the details and the broad and vague nature of this change to our state constitution, literally the devil's in the details.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is being glanced over because, again, on paper, someone might look at it and think it's fine. It's about the future implications of this, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we know what the future implications will be?
No, that's part of the problem. Is as an attorney who practices in the area of constitutional law, you don't know what all the consequences are going to be from this. But because this is such a drastic change to our Constitution, and because the language is so broad and just covers so many different topics, the problem is we don't know exactly what's going to happen, and so it opens the door to a lot of uncertainty and a lot of question marks of, well, what does this mean? This is such a broad statement. What's such a broad, not defined word? What does that mean?
Right.
So yeah, it opens the door to a lot of confusion.
And what would you say makes you so passionate about this, that you're willing to travel across the state to talk and inform voters?
Yeah, well, I am, as I said, I'm a constitutional law attorney. So this is a proposed change to our Constitution, and people have to understand what that means. It is, once it gets in there, it is almost impossible to remove. Yeah. So this is a serious, almost permanent or possibly permanent change to our Constitution. So that's not something that should be taken lightly by the voters.
Right.
And so because the politicians that are pushing this, that drafted this, it's one party that just did this on their own. There was not any public forum held. There was not any public anything. There was no comment period. There was no
bipartisan input.
It's just one party pushing this. And I'm not even Republican. I want to make that very clear to people. This is not Republican versus Democrat.
Right.
This is Constitution versus politicians that want to change the Constitution and put things in there that people probably don't understand the implications. The politicians pushing this are saying this is all about abortion. The word abortion doesn't even appear in that proposed amendment to our Constitution. It's really not about abortion. Abortion is already protected in New York State and has been for over 50 years. It's codified in our state laws. We have very liberal abortion laws. You can have an abortion in New York State up until your 9th month. So this is not about abortion and protecting the right to an abortion. This is about changing our Constitution, and then that will result in a massive change in our societal norms and what we hold dear. Family units, family values, the parent-child relationship, women's spaces, women's lib. I mean, women fought so hard for decades to have equality. And this amendment, if it passes, will flip that upside down, and you will see the abolition of women's rights. Wow. It's such a Trojan horse.
Yeah. And that's what I think is kind of interesting when a Republican comes out with an argument against this. They'll say, well, that's not in there, but they can't describe how it isn't in there.
Well, that's the big thing. Well, it is so broad. It's subject to interpretation by the courts in a number of ways. But as Bobby Ann has said, that this is going to lead to, for example, it says you cannot discriminate based on age, which sounds nice. That makes you think of, well, we don't want older people to get fired from their job for just being old. Yeah. But what it also means, because there's no limits in the language, is that that children cannot be discriminated against. But what does discriminated mean? It means that they can make their own decisions without their parents' consent. It means that if a 6-year-old boy goes to an adult, a teacher, someone like that, and says, I think I'm a girl now.
Right.
That now empowers, through the Constitution, that adult to take that child to get so-called gender-affirming care, hormone blockers, surgery to change their sex, without having to inform the parents. And the parents, by the way, still have to pay for it. So and people, that's never going to happen. It absolutely is going to happen.
Yeah. Have you not followed politics? When someone says it's never going to happen, it's only a matter of time before it's going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
There's normally a quicker time frame when it's never going to happen, in quotes. Going back to your point about no public forums and no public input, is that why there is such a confusion on what this is all about? Because people, I think 9 out of 10 people, at least before the last couple of months, if you came up and said Prop 1, their eyes would glaze over and not even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, the fact that there were no public forums, there was no public comment before this was put on the ballot tells you everything. Right now, there are public forums going on around the state. And it's the politicians that are pushing this are holding these forums and saying, vote yes, you have to protect your right to an abortion. They don't talk anything about the 12 other classes that are being proposed.
That's a great point.
To add into the Constitution. And if you bring that up to them, one state senator, who happens to be my state senator down in Westchester County, she says, oh, it's hogwash. I mean, literally, the word hogwash. Oh, that's hogwash. Don't even pay attention to that. No.
That's hogwash.
There are 12 categories here that these politicians are trying to add into our state constitution. Our Constitution, for decades, has already said you can't discriminate based on race, religion, creed, or color. Now they want to add in 12 new categories. You can't discriminate based on age, disability, ethnicity, national origin, sex, which includes, sexual identity, gender preference, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, pregnancy autonomy. And I mean, these are things that if this passes and all of these things get put into our Constitution, now you're going to see protected classes pitted against one another.
Right.
Who's more protected?
Right.
Whose rights are more valued, right? So now you're going to see lawsuits popping up all over the state with feuding protected classes.
Yeah.
Is my right as a woman to privacy and female spaces, is that more important than a male's right who thinks he's a female or wants to be a female to come into my locker room, my women's bathroom, my women's dormitory, my women's shower? Whose rights are more protected? I mean, that's what's going to happen here if Prop 1 passes.
And the fact that you could read those all off the top of your head, how many times do you think you've actually read? That was impressive. Yeah. I just wanted to say.
I've been talking about this for months and attending many events and forums and trying to explain to people, read it for yourself.
You read the ballot initiative, it says, we're going to protect people based on their gender identity, and all these things are already protected in our state laws.
Right.
And the big thing is they talk about abortion. And let's not forget, the Democrats that run New York State, because we have one-party rule here, have a horrible record. New Yorkers, the vast majority of New Yorkers think that New York is going in the wrong direction. People are leaving the state. People don't feel safe. Crime is up. So what do you run on? Every member of the state legislature, every senator, every assembly member is up for re-election right now. Right. What do you run on when the vast majority of New Yorkers think you're doing a horrible job? Well, you have to have, these red meat issues. Right. And abortion, of course, is one of the biggest ones. So this is about abortion and protecting abortion for the future. Abortion has been legal in New York State, and by the way, the most liberal abortion laws, for more than 50 years. It has survived Republicans in charge of the Senate for most of those 50 years, Republican governors. So this whole idea that we have to protect abortion is hogwash. Well, that's the real hogwash here.
That's the word of the day here on the program.
Exactly. But it's also the danger that it's opening up. I'll give you another example. It says you cannot discriminate based on national origin.
That's a huge red flag, isn't it?
Yes. That means that despite the fact that you may not be a citizen of the United States or of New York State, you will be constitutionally entitled to all the benefits of a citizen, including, by the way, the right to vote.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And if you don't think that's going to happen, it's already happened. The New York City Council passed a law to give illegal immigrants the right to vote. It was overturned in the court, but if we change our Constitution, that is going to essentially invalidate that and that law will then could be reinstated. It's already the mayor of New York City is already trying to get that law reinstated to allow illegal immigrants to vote in their elections.
I mean, I think it doesn't even take someone that studies politics. Well, the first time I read it, that's the one that stuck out the most to me was national origin. Because, as you said, especially in New York City, they've been pushing for illegal migrants to have the right to vote. So it's sooner rather than later on that.
Absolutely. And there was already legislation drafted in Albany to do this. Many of my colleagues want that. There are colleagues of mine that complain that a huge population in their district isn't allowed to vote because they can't vote because they're not citizens. So this, and it dilutes the value of being a citizen, and everything else that goes along with it. This is going to be an absolutely cornucopia of things for trial lawyers to bring lawsuits about. I gave an example last night. You could have lawyers send undocumented illegals into businesses. Say, I'd like to apply for a job. I have an obligation as a business owner. I have an obligation to ensure that that person is a citizen. I need you to, to prove to me that you're a citizen. I'm sorry, I can't do that, and the person walks out. That person goes to dozens of businesses in the area, and those lawyers send out thousands across the state and bring class action lawsuits so that they can make millions of dollars as attorneys and attorneys' fees and bring lawsuits. It's endless what this change to our Constitution could do.
And going back to your point, Senator, so you look at Albany, and let's face it, New Yorkers have real concerns about New York. That's why they're leaving in droves.
That's right.
And of course, last election season with Lee Zeldin, it was very much focused on public safety and obviously the migrant crisis. So why is Albany focused on this and not what really matters to the voter?
Well, here again, we've had one party rule for almost 6 years now. The Democrats have a supermajority in the state Senate, in the Assembly. They have the governor's office, the attorney general's office. They control everything, and it has been an unmitigated disaster. And even people on the left will tell you that. You know what? I don't feel safe anymore walking around the streets of New York City, for example. So they're focused on this because they have made promises to the most radical elements of the far left. And now they are delivering on those promises because they live in the fear of being challenged in a primary from the left. And this happens. The so-called moderate members of the Democratic conferences in both the Senate and the Assembly have been taken out by Democratic socialists. Devout socialists are now members of the state Senate and Assembly. Anti-American sentiments are now prevalent. So, bringing the system down, and they'll say it, we have to burn the system to the ground and start over again. Well, they're doing that. They're creating the chaos to burn the system to the ground.
Did you see that that Chris Cuomo actually said that his brother probably couldn't win mayor because he's not far left enough?
Well, yeah,
in today's Democrat Party, and what's that? I mean, to your point,
pretty amazing.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Eric Adams has done some, I think, some irresponsible and things, and he is probably on his way out. But the person that will replace him will likely be so much further to the left, and Bill de Blasio erased all the things that happened in previous administrations. New York City used to be one of the safest cities in the world. Now it's one of the most dangerous. People they fear riding the subway. But unfortunately, all that crime and chaos and migrant crisis is spreading throughout the state like a cancer, and we have to stop it. And Prop 1 is going to permanently codify into our Constitution that chaos that you're seeing right now.
And going back to the lack of specifics in a way, or not knowing in the future, I think it's very telling that when you see a sign in regards to this, and there's not a ton, the people that are vote no have specifics. Have you noticed that? The sign will say, this is why, and it was great on your on the pamphlet that was given out to promote your event yesterday. This is why, But the other side is just vote yes. There's not a single specific.
Vote yes, otherwise you're a racist. Or vote yes, otherwise you hate women. Vote yes. It's just they're the ones that are fear mongering. They cannot give specifics, and they'll say, well, that'll never happen. Some of them will even admit. Also, and I think this is an important point. Even in the New York Times, which had an article a couple days ago, they admit that once people learn more about Prop 1, they change their mind and they want to vote no. Of course, the New York Times look at this as a negative, right? But both sides have said that once people learn more about it, they tend to want to vote no. So when you become educated on the possibilities, you realize how dangerous this is. So the people that are voting yes, quite frankly, are people that are not educated on this topic.
Right. They're just reading what others are saying for them.
Yes.
And that's the frustrating point. But how do you think, and this is the million-dollar question for any election season, how do we spread the word on this?
It's a grassroots effort. I mean, this is why we're traveling around. Bobby Ann has been all over the state. I have as well. I have a town hall this evening up in Batavia, this afternoon in Batavia. We're going to talk about these things, and we have to. So spreading the word really is about people learning the damaging effects, and then just talking to it. People take it's recommendation from a neighbor, a friend, a colleague. That is, I would think, the best way to spread the word is for people that learn more about it to share their thoughts.
And yesterday at the forum, and just when you've been traveling around, when people finally learn about what Prop 1 is, what has their reaction been?
So most people will hear something about Prop 1. Most times that they are hearing it, it's from the politicians pushing this. So they think, oh, it's about abortion. It's about, protect abortion. And then I explain it. And then it becomes a look of shock of, wow, I didn't realize there were all these other categories that they're trying to put in there. And so it really is a smokescreen. But, if you want, when people say, well, how do I explain this to a friend who thinks this is just about abortion? You can simply say to them, well, if you want to no longer have girl sports, right? Because this would allow, if Prop 1 passes, you won't see, there'll be no more girl sports, which is not only unfair, let's talk about fairness, not only unfair to girls, but it's also dangerous. There was a story, it wasn't in New York State, but it doesn't really matter what state. There was an all-girls volleyball team, and the girls were playing against another supposedly all-girls volleyball team, and that other team had a male on the team. And he spiked the ball, and he hit one of the girls in the face 70 miles an hour, and now the girl is permanently partially paralyzed. Wow. So, we're talking about not just fairness to girls, we're talking about danger as well. And then, the women's spaces. Again, women fought for decades for women's lib. Right. And now this one proposition, if it passes, will reverse all that. And you will see the abolition, and it goes both directions, right? So if your son goes to an all-boys school, high school, all boys, all girls college, all girls high school, that's now going to be challenged. You're going to have the other sex coming in and saying, well, you can't discriminate against me, and I want to go to this all-boys high school, or I want to go to this reverse, all-girls college. I want to live in this all-boy dormitory, or I want to live in this all-girl dormitory. You're going to see that happen, guaranteed. And these things are already happening in New York State. If you can't discriminate against somebody based on their gender expression or their gender preference, there's a school district where I live in Westchester County where the school district passed a speech code, and it told all the students in the school district, you have to call your teacher, staff, peers, whatever, by their preferred pronoun. And if you don't, you are in violation of our speech code and you will be penalized. Wow. So a group of parents got together and said, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. We're turning everything upside down. So they sued the school district, and they're fighting it out in court. But the point is that this is what's going to happen. We are going to see lawsuits everywhere, and people having to hire lawyers and fight for their rights, because now all of a sudden our Constitution is going to be changed because radical politicians wanted to change it without voter input, and then they're selling it as something that it's not. So it's very dangerous, and this is why I'm so passionate about this and trying to raise awareness.
Yeah. One thing I think it's important to bring up, when you say you can't discriminate based on age, the legal opinions right now, what about people that are, a 35-year-old man that's having sex with a 12-year-old girl?
Right.
Okay, you can't discriminate based on age. This calls into question whether or not we can protect our children from sexual predators. Yeah. And every county in this state right now has cases where you have so-called consensual sex between a minor and adult. This now calls into question whether or not that person is actually guilty of a crime in New York State, because we cannot discriminate based on age. So Prop 1 is an absolute cornucopia for pedophiles and perverts, and that's what Prop 1 means. Wow. So if you support pedophiles and perverts, then vote yes.
Wow. And you know what? There's going to be people watching and say, "Well, that's a radical position." Then when you have to ignore the fact that there's always going to be a lawyer willing to accept the case.
Absolutely. I mean, every public defender in New York State, whose job it is to do the best job they can for the person that they are defending, is going to bring this up.
Exactly.
They're going to say, you cannot convict, there may be other things you convict them of, but you cannot convict my client of this, because the New York State Constitution says you cannot discriminate based on age.
Yeah.
That is going to happen if this passes.
And you said there's 12 different changes. So we focused on 3 or 4, but they all have really a snowball of issues with each of them, isn't there?
They do. And I have to say, the language that you're going to see on your ballot is 2 sentences.
Yeah.
It sounds really warm and fuzzy.
Exactly.
Do you want to have protections against these unfair things, in our Constitution? And then it lists, some, not all of the categories. It completely leaves off the ballot paragraph B. If this change to our Constitution passes, if Prop 1 passes, what you see on the ballot is not the language that will be inserted into our Constitution. What will be inserted, there's paragraph A with all the different categories. Then there's paragraph B, which basically says that it gives the government the right to discriminate against you as long as they're doing it in the name of correcting past discrimination.
Unbelievable.
Or preventing future discrimination. So it basically puts reverse discrimination into our Constitution and makes it a right of the government to discriminate against you if they're doing it in the name of reversing discrimination of the past. It's horrendous. That's not even mentioned when you read the ballot. You have no idea that's part of it.
I mean, really from the beginning to the end, this has been smoke and mirrors and deception, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
100%. It is. The goal is 2 things: to drive out Democrat-based voters in a time where they've got nothing else to run on.
Right.
So we have to drive them out with dog whistle issues like abortion and LGBTQ rights. And the second thing is to satisfy the most radical elements of the far left that they are beholden to, that they're in some cases held hostage by if they don't do their bidding, because we're going to challenge you in a primary from the left. So this is about satisfying the most radical elements of politics, along with essentially driving people to the polls that right now have been disillusioned by the horrible situations we have here in New York State. Crime is up, affordability is down, people are leaving, people in poll after poll have no confidence in the New York State legislature to deliver for them. So how do you get those people out to vote? You have to throw them some red meat, and that's what this is.
We're glad that you're out there fighting for us in Albany, but how frustrating is it to be in Albany?
Well, you know what? I'm happy to do it. I'd rather be in the fight than sitting on the sidelines watching.
Frustrated like us.
Yes, exactly. But you know what? We're grateful that folks like yourself, will give us a forum to talk about this. I'm grateful that there are still people out there that are willing to fight and to support our efforts. We can save this state from itself, essentially. We can save the state from this radical shift to the left. And if things were so great, the polls would show it. If things were so great, we wouldn't lead the nation in out-migration. More people leave New York State than any other state in the nation. And by the way, they're not all going to Florida. No. Some are going to Pennsylvania, New Jersey.
Yeah, and you hear the polls now that say that they're, and I've talked to a lot of people on the show, the 5-year plan, right? I can't move today because maybe my kids are growing up or whatever, but I am in the works of making a 5-year plan. You hear it every day.
Yes. In fact, I think one of the most recent statistics was about 40% of New Yorkers say that they will leave the state within 5 years.
Well,
so where are we going?
It's not sustainable.
Yes. And who's going to be left? The people that can't afford to leave. And they're also going to be shouldering the burden of the burdensome taxes and regulations. And whoever's left here is going to be shouldering that burden.
Yes. And with all those problems, we're focused on Proposition 1.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, isn't it?
Smoke screen.
Exactly.
And the stuff, I want to point out, this is already happening.
Yeah.
These things are already happening. Now, people hear oh, you're so radical, you're exaggerating. You know, a child can't change their sex without a parent knowing. There is a bill sitting in Albany, it's been sitting there for a few years, that the Democrats created and are pushing. It says that children of any age can make their own medical decisions, right? So that bill, it's not a law yet, that bill also says that the parent doesn't have the right to know what the child is doing, what kind of medical procedures the child is having. And if the parent tries to go and find out from the medical provider can't tell you unless the child says it's okay for them to tell you. You still have to pay the bill according to this proposed law. And even when you get the EOB from your insurance company, the explanation of benefits, it's not allowed to tell you what you're paying for.
You got to know probably then what it could have been, right?
This is a proposed law that is sitting there. It's proposed. I think the sponsor is Assemblywoman Amy Paulin, who's from Westchester, where I'm from. It's horrendous. It is a direct attack on a parent's right to raise their child. You have a constitutional right, not to mention a God-given right, to raise your children. And if Prop 1 passes, a law like that will pass in 5 minutes, and then it won't be able to be challenged in the courts because now you're going to have this new language in our Constitution saying you can't discriminate against someone based on their age. So this is really already happening. It's just that New Yorkers don't know that, and that's why it's so dangerous. They have to know what's going on before they go to the voting booth.
Well, I just looked at the time. I'm completely out of time, and I kept you late. So I apologize. Thanks so much for being on the show. It's such an important topic, and just I would say to everybody watching, spread the word, right?
Absolutely.
That's all we can do. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Frankly Speaking, stay with us.
If you or a loved
y'all got a lot of stuff
regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed
You're never going to
with
believe
urine,
it, but
ovarian,
this can
or
filter up to
endometrial
60
cancer,
different
you may be
contaminants
entitled
from your
to
water.
significant financial
It's all about
compensation.
cleaner drinking water.
I've used hair relaxers for years.
Dude,
I had
that's
no
good
idea
water.
they could cause
That's
cancer.
good water.
Chemical
Now that's
hair
good
relaxers
water.
and straighteners
That's good
have
water,
been
eh?
linked to serious conditions,
No matter where
including
you
several
live,
types
there's
of
a
cancer.
Culligan
If you
water
use
expert
hair relaxers
nearby.
and have been diagnosed with uterine,
At Culligan,
ovarian,
we think about
or
your water,
endometrial
so you
cancer.
don't have
Call
to.
us now.
Call
There's
today
no
to schedule
fee
your
unless
free
we win
water
your case.
test.
Call today.
Rated hearing aids of
Bathroom of your
2023
dreams
by
is only a
Forbes,
phone
the
call
Audien
away
Adam
with
2
BCI
series
Bath
offers
and Shower.
superior sound
We can
quality
make
and
your ordinary
functionality
bath
for a
and shower
fraction of the price.
extraordinary.
For just
This is not a cookie cutter
$189 a
design.
pair, the
This
Adam
is a
2
complete
features
custom
4
build
different
that will
hearing
fit
modes
your
for all
every
types
need.
of hearing
It's
loss.
never been
It packs
easier or
crystal
more
clear
affordable
sound,
than
a
right
nearly
now to get the
invisible
bathroom
design,
of your
and it's
dreams.
even
We have the
rechargeable.
best
I
monthly
actually
programs
like
in the
them better than
industry
my
with
old
payments as low as
$5,000 hearing
$99
aids.
per
They're
month
so
or
comfortable,
no
I
payments,
forget
no
I'm
interest
wearing
for
them. And the
18 months with
sound
approved
is
credit.
amazing.
The hardest
The
part of
Adam
your
Pro
new
2 is
bathroom
our
is getting
smallest
and
hearing
building the
aid
tub
yet,
and shower.
featuring
If
advanced
your
background
bathing
noise
area is old,
cancellation
there could
and
be
is the
damage
world's
behind
first
the
hearing
walls
aid with
and
built-in
possible mold
UV
and mildew,
cleaning that kills
which could be a
99%
serious
of
safety
bacteria.
issue.
I
At
could not
BCI,
believe
we
how my
don't cover a
hearing and
problem,
life
we
changed
fix it.
without
Call
seeing a
now
doctor
to get a
or
never clean
having a
glass
hearing
treated
test.
door with the
Join
no
over
track system at
500,000
half off
happy
for the
customers
first 50
today and
callers.
get the hearing you
Factory
deserve.
trained, certified
Call
installers made in the USA and
1-800-434-9816
discounts
or
for
go to
seniors and military. Call
AudienHearing.com to get your pair of Audien hearing aids
800-704-1798. That's
starting at just $189.
800-704-1798.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. I kept our guests late, and I appreciate you being with us. There's so much to learn about Prop 1, and I'm so glad that they could be guests. I see a lot of comments coming in during the interview, but unfortunately, we are out of time. We were out of time a little while ago. So let's thank all of our guests this morning. Muriel Anderson, who will be at Marriage Music here on Marcus Street in Corning on Sunday at 2. And that is a benefit for flood relief. So we appreciate her telling those great stories about Chet Atkins, and Dwayne Eddy, Corning native Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Also, of course, we want to thank our last guests, Senator George Borrello and Bobby Ann Cox, for telling us all about Proposition 1. I cannot thank them enough for giving us so much time this morning, because I know so many of you have had questions in regards to Prop 1, which you will be voting on come November 5th or in early elections. On tomorrow's program, I'm all out of sorts here. I got all my documents in front of me. On tomorrow's program, we're going to be talking with our friends from San Giovanni Valderno, Italy. They're in visiting teachers and students. They're going to join me in the studio, and we're going to find out how their trip's going, what they're looking forward to, and talk about tomorrow's pasta dinner, which is from 4:30 till 7:30 at the Corning High School cafeteria, and all proceeds go to benefit the Corning San Giovanni Valderno Sister City Committee. That does it for us this morning. Thank you for joining us. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow, won't we? This has been, Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early at 6 a.m. I look forward to it already.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.